with his neck attached to one fence or another, mostly near the White House. He is a model of strength and determination and also good humor. To talk to us a little bit about his view of things, of the drones and the war. I don't see Elliot. But don't yell at me, just tell me. Elliot, if you can climb up that ladder.
Hey, how's everybody here? Boy, you're looking great. Look at the size of the people here. This is great. Now, these drones are an interesting weapon. Every weapon is adept at something. Artillery is adept at firing explosives out a mile or so. Submarines are adept at plowing under the shooting boats from underneath for hiding missiles. Drones are adept at assassination. Assassination is illegal. Assassination is illegal because it's immoral.
That's right.
So why do we use these weapons? We have other choices of weapons. Now, I will agree with all of you that it isn't just a question of weapons. Our real goal is to abolish war. But given the range of weapons that we can choose, the drones are a particularly bad one. When I was in Gaza...
Hold it closer.
Okay. Tell me if I drop off. Testing.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's good. You got it.
They got it again. When I was in Gaza, one of the things I noticed about drones, because you could hear them overhead, is that they created a sense of oppression. In Gaza, they talk about, you always feel like you're being watched, because among other things you can hear the drones. And as one man said to me, in Gaza, Israel sees everything. They even see where the bird lays her egg. And it creates this oppressive feeling. But besides that, there is the sorry here. I want to get a quote here. Got my papers out of order here. Besides the feeling of oppression, there is the fact that they're armed. So one day when Muhammad and Hala al-Habash it was a nice day, it was a quiet day, there were no Israeli soldiers around, there was no fighting taking place. They decided that maybe they should send the children up on the roof. As Muhammad said, let the children play on the roof. The children should get some sun. There's no electricity, nothing for them to do in the house. Okay, if I forget, yell at me. Everybody else does. He said, Hala said, I washed clothes all day. I was on the roof checking the clothes if the clothes were okay. The children were singing songs. They were all bored. We keep chickens on the roof. The kids were playing with them. I had cooked lunch. Jamila, that's her daughter, had been helping me with the cooking and washing all day. Then came the explosion on the roof of the house. I was so mysterious, Muhammad said. The first thing I saw was Jamila without her legs. She was like she'd been butchered, cut like meat. Her left leg was thrown 100 meters. We gave it to the ambulance later. Ezra, I saw her brain. Then I saw Shaza. She was cut through the hip to the stomach. Her leg was gone. She was dead. I told Jamala, don't worry. I will take you to the hospital. I will get you the ambulance. My son, my son, Haman, wasn't on the roof. He had been thrown into the neighbor's windowsill. I couldn't believe it. I thought Muhammad's leg was broken, but they amputated his foot. They cut it high away from the shin. Later they cut it higher. That day, that sunny day, Israel 13 killed. Shaza 10 killed. Janelle 14 lost both their legs above the knees. 16-year-old Muhammad lost one leg. Hala, remember she's the mother, said, maybe if I called the children to lunch, this wouldn't have happened. I told my husband the lunch was ready, but he said it was too early. She goes on, I don't go on a roof anymore. I can't, never. It's too sad. To lose your children is hard for a mother. I miss Shaza very much. It's very hard. I wish I had lost my legs, not Jamala. I still feel that Shaza is beside me, playing with me. Sometimes I can even feel her stroke my face. Up in the clouds, the drones hang around, while down below, no one knows. No one knows. No one knows when a drone fire will hit the missile chain, playing with the children. Unlike fighter bombers and attack helicopters, these missions go on way behind enemy lines where there are lots of civilians. So they keep doing these things. They keep killing them, killing innocent civilians. The record for drones is that when they strike with an explosive weapon, so they kill 14, 15 people with a shot just to try to get one. And the record shows they've often done that 5, 10 times to try to get that one person. They may have killed 100 people to get that one person. That's a bad weapon. And in terms of strategy, every single one of those people that was killed has a brother and a sister at least. And they're mad at us now. So we're probably making 200 to 400 people who are mad at us for every single person we kill. And because of the nature of drones, we don't really know whether the person we killed was the person we thought they were. And besides which, we don't even know whether the person we thought they were is guilty of what the informants told us they were. There was never any trial. There was never any justification for the attack. This is a weapon that terrorizes. It terrorizes the people we don't want to terrorize. It creates enemies. It makes us unsecure. It is not a good choice of weapons. I don't believe in war to start with, but if you're going to choose weapons, this is not a weapon to choose. But it is not enough to condemn the drones or the people who use them. If we are citizens of the United States, these drones are ours. We build them, we fly them, we fire the missiles.
Let's shut them down.
The voice of complicity, the voice of silence is complicity. In this case, if we don't get out there and shut them down, it is our fault. We can't blame it on anybody else.
Shut them down.
Shut them down.
Shut them down.
Shut them down. And while we're talking about shutting down, I want to bring up a little bit. Okay, thank you. I want to bring up a little bit of Dr. King to us.
Yes.
He said non-violent direct action seeks to create a crisis and foster such tension that a community which is consistently refused is forced to confront an issue. Isn't that what we're trying to do?
Yes.
Yes.
He said the greatest stumbling block is the moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who constantly says, oh, I agree with your goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. And never forget that everything Hitler did was legal, and that to give help to a Jew in Germany was illegal. And let me close and leave you with the words, again of King. These are times of real choices, not false ones. We are at a moment when our lives must be placed on the line if our nation is to survive its own folly. Every man of humane convictions must decide on the protest that best suits his conviction. But we all must protest.
Yes.
We don't condone the drone. We don't condone the drone.
Thank you, Elliot. The next person I'm going to bring to the mic is Judy Homanich, a woman from Binghamton who with her husband George have participated in the witnesses and actions at the Creech base in Nevada. Judy is one of the Nevada 14.
happy to be able to introduce Brian Terrell, who's here with us from the Iowa Catholic Worker. Brian has worked for more than 3 decades for peace and justice in this country and in various places around the world. And this is not Brian's first time, as Ray said, on a base. In April of 2009, we were arrested at Creech, and at our trial in September of 2010, Brian gave an extemporaneous closing statement that was so passionate and powerful that even the lawyers were in tears. Brian?
Thank you, Judy. Thanks all. As Judy was mentioning about our trial in Las Vegas last September for being arrested for trespassing at Creech Air Force Base, the headquarters of the Air Force drone program. Our witnesses were able to speak over the judge's objections about the very classic example of the necessity defense. A building is on fire. There's a no trespassing sign on the door. There's a child in the window screaming. Is it a crime to break down that door, ignore the no trespassing sign, and go to the child?
No.
Ramsey Clark, one of our expert witnesses, who was President Johnson's Attorney General, said, one would hope not, and said allowing a child to burn over a no trespassing sign is poor public policy. Great understatement.
Right.
So when we finally were sentenced, our judge told us that we were guilty of trespass because the harm we were addressing was not imminent. It was too far away, and used cases such as the School of the Americas or the Pentagon and places where people were protesting an atrocity that was happening on the other side of the world, and that we were not close enough to the burning building. And because the child in the burning building was in Afghanistan, our protests in Nevada were not legal, ignoring the fact the trigger is pulled
Right.
in Nevada.
Here, here.
In reply to that, I was able to say, I quoted a drone pilot from Creech who said this: when I'm flying the drones, the war is 7,000 miles away, meaning the distance from Nevada to Afghanistan, and the war is 18 inches away, the distance from his face to the screen. The drone operators are supposed to, their own language is that they determine what is an imminent threat. And they can decide that from Nevada, they can decide that from here.
Right.
But then a judge tells us the threat to the child in Afghanistan is not imminent. What this technology has done, in a very unique way, is it's bringing the war home. The war is being engaged, the war is being waged, war crimes are being committed, not on a battlefield in Afghanistan only. They're being committed right here.
Right.
We are addressing the war. The threat is imminent, the threat is close, the threat is on the other side of that yellow ribbon. And those of us who choose to cross onto that other side of that ribbon are really putting ourselves in the battlefield. We are addressing the war in Afghanistan in the most intimate way. We are putting ourselves, we are ignoring the police tape, ignoring the no trespass sign, and we are going to that child in that window in that burning house.
Here, here.
One of our witnesses we're graced to have is one of our expert witnesses in our trial in Nevada, Colonel Ann Wright, who I first heard of a few years before when the U.S. was getting ready, gearing up to attack Iraq. Ann, who had already been retired from the military, had a career in the State Department, and she resigned from the State Department in protest about the illegal war that the United States was getting into. And since then, I've seen her various places. Most recently, we saw each other in Afghanistan, where I was on a delegation. We were both on a delegation there in December. And we've been making great use of Ann's expertise and experience, both in the military and in the State Department. And when I greeted her at the guest house where we were staying, really a few rooms upstairs from a glorified taxi company, guarded at the door by a man in fatigues and holding a AK-47. We got the advantage of Ann's military expertise, because she looked at him and said, if somebody wants to hurt us, he lives 30 seconds, we live 45 seconds. And that's how dangerous things are in Afghanistan. And it was wonderful to have her company there, and her company here, and her company on trial. So I'd like to welcome Ann Wright.
Made it.
Well, getting up on this truck will definitely not be the most dangerous thing that we do today. The most dangerous thing we do today is challenge the system, challenge our government. As a former colonel, as a retired colonel, as a former government official who's been with the government, 40 years, I think my greatest public service is now challenging the government and challenging these things called drones. These drones, and you might as well just call them assassination machines. That's what these drones are used for. Targeted assassination, extrajudicial, ultimate death for people who have not been convicted of anything. And somewhere in our bureaucracy, whether it's the CIA bureaucracy, the military bureaucracy, somebody says, we're going after this person or that person. We're not putting them on trial. We're not going to really find out what's really going on. We just think. We think they're doing something to our troops that have invaded and occupied countries in Iraq and Afghanistan. Where in Yemen we have special forces people that have been there for years. Now in Libya, the U.S. is going to be using drones. We're going to be killing people. We don't know who we're killing, and it doesn't matter how many generals back there over that fence says these are surgical military implements. We know exactly what they're doing. Well, if that's true, why did they kill the wedding party of 68 people in Afghanistan? How come in a river valley where a truck was stuck, an oil truck, a gasoline truck, and there were people around it, they were trying to push the truck out of it. They were trying to get the gasoline out of it. They were villagers that lived around where this little creek bed was. And our military said, well, they've got to be Taliban. They got to be. And so they blew them up. And it were Afghan civilians. Here we'll be training assassins right here. Just as at the School of the Americas at Fort Benning, and prior to that in the Panama Canal Zone, we've trained assassins for other countries. Here we are training assassins, American assassins. American assassins that will work right over here. And no matter, as a military person, how many of you all are veterans? How many of you been in the military? We can put a lot of, we can rationalize a lot while we're in the military. That we ourselves are not the ones that are doing something, or we're trying to get away from certain policies. We won't work with those policies. Or it's not really us as the people in the military that's responsible. It's for those politicians that have cooked up these policies. But the actual implementers, the ones that pull the triggers, they're not to be held responsible. But then how many of you all have resigned from the military or the government? How many people in their government have said, I'm not going to do what my government tells me to do? Those war resistors that we've had, the conscientious objectors, the people who say, no, I will not do this in the name of my country. Criminal acts committed by our country, and I will not be a part of it. So here in Syracuse, it we need to be able to do is to be able to keep in touch with the men and women that work in here to say, we know that you deep down know what you're being asked to do, that you're being asked to become trained assassins. And when you're ready to stop that, we're ready to take you in. We want to take you in. And it's so important that every week, as many times as possible, that these signs are out here to remind people of conscience that are in there, that it's time that they act on their conscience. So as an old military person and an old diplomat, I say, stop the drones!
Stop the drones! Stop the drones! Stop the drones! Stop the drones!
That's right. We'll stop them here. We'll stop them in Afghanistan and Iraq. I want to bring up now a person who has brought a lot of Americans to Afghanistan, a lot of Americans to Iraq. One of the bravest women that we've got in our United States of America who has been challenging the government and authority for decades. Please bring up from the voice of Creating Nonviolence, Kathy Perry.
It's wonderful to follow in Anne's footsteps and to be with all of you here today. Of course, what the drones can't communicate to us that we need so much to know, both we here and our friends there, is the suffering and the sorrow of warfare, the suffering and the sorrow and the loss and the bereavement. The first time that I went to Afghanistan, I actually stayed inside of a hospital, and I got to know a little fellow. His name was Esmatullah. He was 7 years old. And he was just beaming because the physical therapist had patted him on the head and said, he's a real pucktoon. He never cried through all of the dressing changes, and this little one's body had been severely broken and battered. He never knew which side had hit him. And then I met Saifullah, and Saifullah's luck had held out for 1 year, and then a second year when he was a driver for United States convoys. And on the third year, he drove over an improvised explosive device, the truck jackknifed, and there he was in this Italian hospital, getting free care, recovering and really with no rancor toward the United States. But he'd lost his leg, and his collarbone was badly broken, and he'd have a long time of recovery ahead of him. And I asked him, now if one of those night raids ever went into your village in Panjshir, then what would you do? And he said, oh, Madame Cathy, then I would fight. I would fight to the death. And in this most recent trip, I went back to the hospital to donate blood. I've got O negative and they really want my blood. So I showed up, and as I was sitting on a park bench, a young boy hobbled over, and his face was completely bandaged, only one eye was showing. And he spoke to the woman sitting next to me. He said, I have lost my eye forever. And these are part of the sorrows of war that are understood by people at Walter Reed Hospital and in places all across our country where people return from the wars, their lives changed forever. It wasn't so easy on my Irish mother that the first time I was ever arrested, it was for singing an Irish ballad inside of Chicago's post office protesting the 1979 draft registration. I want to share that song with you now. While on the road to sweet Ethel, while on the road to sweet Ethel, while on the road to sweet Ethel, a doleful damsel I did espy, with a stick in her hand and a tear in her eye. Oh, Johnny, I hardly knew you. Where are your legs that used to run? Where are your legs that used to run? Where are your legs that used to run? Before you went to carry a gun. I believe your dancing days are done. Oh, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Where are your eyes that looked so mild? Where are your eyes that looked so mild? Where are your eyes that looked so mild? When my heart you first beguiled, Oh, why did you run from me and the child of Johnny I hallelujah? You haven't an arm and you haven't a leg, oh, oh, you haven't an arm and you haven't a leg, oh, 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 you haven't an arm and you haven't a leg, then eyeless, legless, chickenless egg. You have to be prepared with a bell to bed, but your Peggy will never leave ya. There's rebellion in the last verse. I hope it's ours, non-violent rebellion, but let us rebel non-violently. Hooray, when out the guns again, hooray, hooray, they're rolling out the guns again, hooray, hooray, they're rolling out the guns again, but they'll never take our daughters and sons again. Never take our daughters and sons again. Oh, Johnny, I'm swearing to ya. Adiduna, I'm swearing to ya. Ismatullah, I'm swearing to ya. Saifullah, I'm swearing to ya. We pledge, my friends, to every one of you, that we want to save the lives of all the people in the war zones, and that we want the intelligence that will help us understand the sorrows of warfare. We pledge this to you. We swear to ourselves. We're swearing to ourselves. All human life is precious. Thank you. I wonder if we could call Ellen Brady forward. There she goes. Ellen has, since the beginning of these plans, been, I think, someone who's been like a shepherd for any number of people, and Ellen has certainly, in her witness, in her work, and her kindness, shown to us those examples that are, I think, what we want to be guided by. So, Ellen, thank you for bringing us to this point, and we're so glad to be with you.
Thank you, Kathy. Everybody coming together and all the work that everybody did, which has been phenomenal. I'm at this point supposed to share the indictment that we are going to bring to the base today, and this indictment was took a lot of different turns, and our friend Bill Quigley, the lawyer from the Center for Constitutional Rights, helped initially draft it, and then people from our affinity group in Ithaca put it together, and then Jessica Stewart helped to condense it for us. So I'm going to read it. It's a little bit long. I'll try not to... thank you, Andy. Indictment for violations of human rights. We charge the chain of command from President Barack Obama to Secretary of Defense Robert Gates to Commander Colonel Kevin Bradley to every drone crew with the following crimes: extrajudicial killings, violation of due process, wars of aggression, violation of national sovereignty, and the killing of innocent civilians. We charge that these crimes are committed in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America, Article 1, Section 8.11. The Charter of the United Nations, Article 2, Section 4. The Golden Rule, and of international law, to which we are especially bound by Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution, which states, all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall become the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be thereby bound. Anything in the Constitution or laws or any state to the contrary notwithstanding. We demand that they immediately stop these crimes and be accountable to the people of the United States and Afghanistan. We appeal to all United States citizens, military, civilian, and to all public officials that we are required by the Nuremberg Principles 1 through 7 and by conscience to refuse to participate in these crimes. and to denounce them and resist them nonviolently. The indictment, we charge that the Air National Guard of the United States of America, headquartered at the Hancock Air National Guard Base, home of the 174th Fighter Wing of the Air National Guard, under the command of the 174th Fighter Wing Commander, Colonel Kevin W. Bradley, is maintaining, utilizing MQ Reaper drones for use in combat. Extrajudicial targeted killings by the use of unmanned aircraft drones by the United States of America are intentional, premeditated, and deliberate use of lethal force in violation of U.S. and international human rights law. The U.S. has used drones for targeted killings in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, and Pakistan, with no legal basis for defining the scope of area where drones can and cannot be used, no rigorous criteria for deciding which people are targeted for killing, no procedural safeguards to ensure the legality and accuracy of the killings, and no mechanisms of accountability. In support of this indictment, we cite the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Summary Arbitrary Executions, who has said that the use of drones, use of drones creates, quote, a highly problematic blurring and expansion of the boundaries of the applicable legal frameworks, human rights law, the laws of war, and the law applicable to the use of interstate force. The result has been the displacement of clear legal standards with a vaguely defined license to kill, and the creation of a major accountability vacuum. In terms of the legal framework, many of these practices violate straightforward applicable legal rules. Let all accused in this indictment understand that our words are spoken nonviolently. All are invited to stop the use of drones and refuse to participate in illegal warfare. You're welcome to do it, and I'll have it over there. Find that peace flag.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. For those of you who were at the meeting last night and who want to make a symbolic act of leaving one of these flowers, now would be a good time to come up towards the pickup truck so you can grab the flower. People who were at St. Lucy's who participated in our meeting last night who want to do that, please come get one of your flowers now. My name is Jessica. I'm one of the staff organizers at the Syracuse Peace Council, and we're so thrilled that all of you came to join us in our protest and our witness here at the Hancock Air Base against these Reaper drones that we do not want in our community. This is our third regional protest that we've held here. We will never stop until this injustice is done. This is our mission. We've been doing this for 75 years, agitating against social injustice and violence in our community or overseas. We know it's all connected, and that's why we come and we do it consistently. It's the kind of thing we have to do every day. This is just one moment, one climatic moment in our ongoing campaign that will go on tomorrow and the next day and next week and next month, and we will keep doing this work because it's the good work that gives us a good community and a just community and the work that we must do. I'm going to ask you in the crowd, thank you, if you could kind of part to create an aisle from the pickup truck to that mock drone, because we have some people who would like to deliver flowers into our little wagon near the drone as part of our mourning and our solidarity for the victims of drone attacks.